Hi, I'm Jacqueline Raposo of www.thedustybaker.com. Gluten-free and allergy-alternative recipes can be a little bit frustrating and can make for one very, very messy kitchen. But I hope my updated classics and fun flavor combinations show you that with a little bit of mess, a lot of fun, and a whole lot of love, even a dusty baker can produce delectable results. Here we go. Beer brownies. So this recipe was a happy accident when I happened to be drinking some dark gluten-free beer and happened to want some brownies. And so just to be a little bit celebratory, we poured some of the beer into the brownies and found that because of that, it gave it an extra dimension of flavor. And also I didn't need any leavener, so I didn't need any baking powder or baking soda. So it's now my favorite go-to brownie recipe. So to start, these are all ingredients that you can pretty much usually find in someone's kitchen. There's no fancy chocolate. It's all very basic. And this is actually one of the few recipes that I use an already made flour blend. So I'm going to get to that in a second. But first we're going to start with our chocolate combination. So I have 10 tablespoons of cocoa powder. It's just regular old, nothing fancy cocoa powder. 10 tablespoons of that. And then 12 tablespoons of unsalted butter that I've melted and then let cool a bit. I'm going to do it in a bowl today. Sometimes I just do this straight on the stove. I just melt the butter and then toss the cocoa in. So I'm just going to whisk that until it's nice and smooth. It's another reason why I love this recipe, because you don't have to have any fancy chocolate. So there we go. So now I'm going to let that sit for a second. I don't want it to get too cooled off and I don't want it to thicken too much. So in my standing mixer with my whisk attachment, I'm going to start beating up 2 large eggs. Just on a medium speed. And while those are beating, I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of brown sugar, dark brown sugar. Put that in there. And 3/4 of a cup of white sugar. I'm going to bring it up to high, and I'm going to beat it for about 45 seconds until it gets really creamy. So it's been about 45 seconds. I just want my sugar to dissolve into the eggs right there. Just going to take out my whisk. And then I'm just going to add my chocolate mixture. Very messy chocolate mixture. So there's my chocolate. And I'm going to mix that in until, again, it's nice and smooth. So while that's going, I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of gluten-free vanilla extract. I'm just going to stop the mixer once again and just scrape down the sides. I'm going to turn my mixer on to low, and I'm going to just slowly pour 1/2 cup of gluten-free beer. Now I've tried it with different types of beer, and I find that the darker you can get, the richer taste it's going to be. So I mix it on low first, and then as soon as I see that it's starting to incorporate, I can turn the speed up just a tiny bit. And then a little bit more to make sure that the beer gets fully incorporated. And now that that's nice and smooth, I'm once again going to turn my mixer down to low. Now here I have 3/4 of a cup of all-purpose gluten-free flour. All-purpose gluten-free flours from different companies are different. They have different types of flour, different types of starch. Some have xanthan gum, some have baking powder and baking soda in them, some don't. This does not originally have xanthan gum in it. So I've got 3/4 of a cup of this all-purpose flour with a 1/4 teaspoon of xanthan gum and then a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. So I'm going to slowly, because this is a chocolate recipe and a brownie recipe, it doesn't need to have a cake consistency, and I like really dense brownies, you can be a little bit more liberal with the type of flour blends that you use. So in that slowly goes. I love how forgiving brownies are in a way. Turn it up a tiny bit. I'm going to scrape down once more. and give it one final turn before I put it into my pan. There we go. Now you can add nuts if you like nuts. I'd say maybe like a half a cup or so. You can sprinkle them on top. You can mix them right in. If you want to make them smoky, you can add some chipotle or something. Or I love mesquite flour. It's not a flour that many people know, but mesquite's a very smoky flour, and it adds a lot of dimension to brownies. So you can always throw a tablespoon of this or that in. I'm going to just give one more mix here. Now my oven is preheated to 350 degrees, and I have an 8x8 just metal tin pan ready to go, and I lightly greased it. You can use glass as well. I actually normally prefer glass pans, but these ones are just very convenient. So see, it's this light and fluffy and sort of sticky brownie mix. Oh, there we go. Let's get the rest of that in there. Just going to smooth it out on top. You can use a larger pan if you want to. That'll make slightly thinner brownies. But I want to bite into a nice thick brownie. So I'm going to smooth this out. And I'm going to pop it in the oven for about 20 minutes. I'm not going to eat this. I'm going to pop it into the oven for about 20 minutes. And then let it cool for 15 before I slice into it. So my gluten-free beer brownies were in the oven for 22 minutes. And then I cooled them in the pan for about 15 before I flipped them out. You can cut them right from the pan. After 10 minutes, they're going to be good to go. But these are still warm. I just wanted you to be able to see the insides here. So if I were to cut these into 16 dense and fudgy brownies. Ah, I broke it on purpose. So there we go. Look at that right in there. So it's a cross between a cake and a fudge. It pulls apart beautifully, makes this delicious little sound. And there we go, gluten-free beer brownies. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm Jacqueline Raposo. For more gluten-free and allergy-friendly recipes, join me at www.thedustybaker.com. Thanks.